And in the season finale, after a little run-in with Danny in the jewelry shop, Helen decides to give Reed a phone call because she's not too happy about it. But Reed says, look, we tried to support you, but you just weren't about it, so we had to put parameters in place to replace you. Sorry if your feelings are hurt. Reed, however, knows that Helen has the recording device, and she tells her, you need to hand it over to me. But Helen's not going to do that, especially when she finds out what Reed did with Sam sending Sam to kill Alex Clark all by himself. In that moment, all she cares about is saving her friends, where all Reed cares about is avoiding a nuclear war. But in this instance, Reed isn't in control because Helen has the recording device and Helen hangs up on her. Without any idea of where Sam is being held, she's going to have to get creative. She noticed in the video that Trent is wearing a hat with a unique logo on it. When she searches the logo, she finds out it's the local stable. So at least there's a lead. But she needs backup. She calls up Williams, who is still hurt from being shot, and the two head over to the stables, where they do locate Trent. And he is this timid, shy, scared kid. And that is before they present him with the video of killing the Chinese ambassador. They want Trent to take them to his mom's. But Trent, who is terrified of his mother, doesn't want to do that. With a gun pointed at his head, though, he decides to reconsider that. He calls up his mom and he hands the phone over to Helen, where Helen makes it very clear that they're headed to the drop-off, but they better not be walking into a trap or they will kill her baby boy. All she wants is to talk to Alex one-on-one. They, though, are not the only ones headed to the drop-off. Reed, knowing exactly what Helen's about to do, gets paid by the Americans for the drop-off location. But the Chinese also know about the drop-off location because they saw Cole Atwood return to the U.S. Embassy. So they're just going to follow his tail. So while Helen thinks that this is going to be an intimate gathering, it's not. Helen, Williams, and Trent, though, do get to the location first. Before they walk in, Helen stashes a gun in Trent's coat, knowing full well that the security are not going to check Trent, and they don't. When they arrive in the abandoned building, the first thing they do is try to free their friends. But before they can actually get out of there unscathed, Alex and her trigger man show up. Helen's a little surprised about the lack of security that Alex brought to this meeting, but Alex makes it clear that if anything happens to her, then all hell is about to break loose, and it will not be good for Helen. They then get to the matter of the recording device, where what's on it gets revealed to everybody in the room, including Kai Ming, who had no idea who actually killed her father. She had no clue it was Trent, and Trent didn't want to tell her because Trent was crushing on Kai Ming. It's one of the reasons he was buying her drugs. While Alex loves her son, it doesn't seem like this is the first time he's screwed up and she's had to clean it up. I don't know if Alex is going to be able to clean up the possible relationship, though, between Kai Ming and Trent after, Trent did kill her dad. Anyway, Helen hands over the recording device, but right after she does so, Alex gets a text message from the Prime Minister saying the Americans are on their way. Because the Americans being tipped off about this video and the meeting was relayed to Wallace, who told the Prime Minister he has no idea that the Prime Minister is dirty in all this. And the Prime Minister, not wanting news to get out about what really happened, had to tip off Alex immediately so that she doesn't get caught up in all this. When Alex gets the text message, she quickly says, all right, we got to get out of here, let's go. But Helen's not about to let her walk out the door. She didn't get what she wanted. And that's answers for why exactly Jason was killed. It's at that moment where Helen grabs the gun out of Trent's coat, points it at Alex, Alex's trigger man points his gun at Helen, and you've got a little bit of a standoff, but Helen's not backing down. And while she's trying to extract answers from Alex, the Americans show up, the Chinese show up, so you've got a standoff going on inside and a standoff going on outside. Guns drawn on both ends. Sam is pleading with Helen to just walk away. He understands the quest for vengeance, but he doesn't feel like this is the right move. Helen, though, completely disagrees. She's not leaving without answers. The thing is, Alex claims that she didn't have Jason killed, that she has no idea who Jason is. And Helen finds that really, really hard to believe. But then she remembers there's a way to prove this. Because Williams and a few others were hired anonymously, but they were all given a phone number to call if they found Kai Ming. So Helen says, Williams, call that number. And Alex, if your phone rings, I'm going to put a bullet in your head. But when Williams calls that number, Alex's phone does not ring. Trent's phone rings. Trent walks over and gets on his knees, begging for his life. Alex is doing the same thing, trying to claim it was her all along. She's just trying to cover for her boy. With Helen having a gun pointed at his head, Sam is begging her to not do this because Trent's a kid. He's a teenager. Eventually, though, Alex makes a play for Helen's gun. That causes Sam to grab the trigger man's gun and shoot him. The sound of a bullet going off gets the Americans and the Chinese to start firing outside. But inside, Sam decides to shoot Alex, and then he shoots Trent. Helen's a little upset that Sam took the kill from her, but it just seems like Sam didn't want that to be on Helen's conscience, killing someone so young. Before they can leave, a phone rings, and Sam realizes that it's Alex's. When he answers, though, there's a different voice on the other end. The voice tells him that they were being watched this entire time and they will be held accountable, which prompts them to get out of that building immediately. While Helen is leaving, she gets approached by Cole, who seemed to be the only one that actually survived this standoff outside. It's a good thing she ran into him because she's able to hand over the recording device and she tells him, "You're exonerated on this. Just show this to the Chinese and you're home free." He appreciates it, and he decides to return the favor by letting her know that he is aware of who she is, but he's also really, really good at keeping secrets. When the Americans get the recording of what actually happened, they're thrilled because it means China's going to back down. But the big bombshell on the recording is the fact that Stephen Yarrick was involved and the Prime Minister was mentioned. The CIA station chief, Mitch, tells Wallace this when he has a meeting with him, how there were names mentioned on the tape. Wallace, though, who is in the dark, asks, well, who was mentioned? And Mitch realizes that Wallace really didn't know any of this, which is a good thing. It means that he's probably clean. But what it also means is Wallace is likely to be the next Prime Minister. And after Mitch leaves, it dawns on Wallace who would have been mentioned that would have been a big deal. He realizes that the Prime Minister was probably dirty. That night, Helen has to go debrief with Reed. She tells Reed everything about Trent, the recording, what happened, all of it. That's when Reed lets Helen in on everything she knew this whole time. She says what the Chinese didn't know and the Americans didn't know is that someone was watching the ambassador's family this entire time. And it wasn't Cole, it was Maggie, Kai Ming's friend, who had hidden a recording device in Kai Ming's apartment so that she could sell dirt to the tabloids, which was Philip. When the murder happened, Maggie went to go get their camera, but what she forgot is that Philip also had access to that recording device. He was able to see the footage. And once Philip saw it, he went to Wallace trying to get to Yarrick. Yarrick got spooked, he went to the Clarks tried to cover it up. They did this by following Philip, who had the meeting with both Maggie and Jason. After that, the murder started happening. As for the reason why Jason was even involved, it was because Maggie trusted him. Because like Maggie, Jason was an agent working for MI5. And that is a bombshell that Helen was not prepared for. She suddenly feels played. She starts questioning the entire relationship, whether it was real or not. Jason was a part of a small task force set up in MI5 to look for leaks in the government, and Helen was identified. So he was put there to try to find out if Helen was a spy. But when he filed his report a week before he died, he put that she was not a spy, knowing full well that she actually was, which means that that love was real. And that's a big relief to Helen. Reed then hands over a flash drive full of all the information she could find about Jason and who he really was. She then informs Maggie on everything that's about to go down with the Prime Minister. How in a couple months he's going to resign due to health reasons, but it's not actually health reasons. And that's going to promote Wallace to PM, which means that she's going to be even more involved with the Black Doves. After the meeting, Helen doesn't head home. No, she goes to the bench that Jason was killed on and starts thinking. And after doing so, she realizes she wants to remember Jason just the way she does now. She chucks that flash drive into the river. As for Sam, he returned to Michael's apartment, but they don't talk about what happened. They just decide to have a quiet night. Quiet night, though, gets interrupted. Sam hears something in the living room. He goes to check it out, and to his surprise, it's Hector Newman. Hector isn't there, though, to kill Sam. He tells Sam that he actually hated his brothers, but he had to try to get vengeance because his mother was heartbroken after all three boys were killed. After the most recent events, though, with the Clarks, well, it's only a matter of time before they come after the guy that's responsible for those murders. And Hector knows that Sam's all on his own. This is convenient because Hector is all out of muscle. So he offers Sam a job. This would allow Sam to stay in London, but he would be working for Hector Newman. And while he doesn't give him an answer, he sure as hell is going to take the job. Sam, though, has to do one thing. Clear this with Lenny. He has to make sure Lenny's not going to be coming after him. So he goes and meets with Lenny and explains, I'm taking a job with Hector Newman, and I need to know that you can just have the situation be water under the bridge. And if you can't, well, then I got to shoot you. But if you can, I can walk away. And after staring Lenny in the eye, he realizes, yeah, Lenny can let this go. So he leaves to enjoy Christmas. The next day, he gets a phone call from Helen inviting him over to celebrate Christmas with the family. They're going to tell Wallace that he's an insurance agent. But at one point, they head outside to have a smoke, and he gives Helen the news that he will be staying in town. She then asks about Michael, but he gives the indication that that's probably not going to happen. They do end on good terms, though. Everybody goes off. They enjoy Christmas, including Reed, who is sitting there with some random blonde woman. I don't know if it's her daughter or another Black Dove, but it's somebody. And that is the end of Black Dove Season 1. Thank you so much for getting this part of the recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel or even becoming a member. It helps pay bills. Another way I can help pay bills, you can buy merch. I have t-shirts and hats and hoodies and stuff. Be nice in the comment section. If you didn't like something, just keep it moving because I'm soft and nasty comments make me feel bad. But just know, when Season 2 rolls around, I'll be here. Hopefully you will too. Thanks so much again.